1, 2, 3, and we are live. Live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, once again, Ryan Thomas, bringing you another edition of the podcast. As I told everybody today on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the podcast tonight, a Tuesday special edition of the podcast, would be available via audio, not so much via video, via audio for this one. And as I've been adding to the Facebook page, adding to the Twitter page, adding to the YouTube channel, I've had a lot of positive comments in regards to some of the content that I've been putting out. I want to read one off that I thought was great to read, and that was from Ricky Graves in the Buffalo Bills Ride or Die Facebook group, which is a recent group that I just joined. He said, I want to welcome new member Ryan Thomas to our group. He's a man everybody should respect. This man I constantly see and watch his videos about our Bills, and he's always very accurate, whatever he says. Please always post your Bills videos in here. Too, brother, again, welcome. Very nice message from Ricky. Thank you for that positive message, because I feel like that's a rarity in the world today. Not just positive reinforcement, but Facebook admins for Facebook groups allowing podcast hosts to post their content on their page. It's a very big deal, and it means a lot. I really appreciate it. Another avenue that I can build my podcast. Thank you to Mr. Graves for the kind words. And as much as I love talking about the Buffalo Bills, I'm blue in the face talking about the Buffalo Bills. I would personally like to talk about another topic, another sport, and that is mixed martial arts. The most notorious superstar in the sport, Conor McGregor, released his first statement post his UFC loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov in what was McGregor's first fight in 2 years in mixed martial arts. And I'm going to read off his reaction to the loss, and we'll see what you guys think of it. We'll see what you guys think about my take on it as well. So in the post, which has 2.7 million likes, might I add, McGregor says, thoughts on my last fight, round one. I believe from a sports standpoint, round one was his top position against the fence, 0 position advancement or damage inflicted, but top position from a fight standpoint, the first round is mine. Actual shots landed and a willingness to engage, straight left early, knee to the head on the low shot, elbows in any and all tie-up scenarios, opponent just holding the legs against the fence for most of the entire round. Round two, he is running away around the cage before being blessed with a right hand that changed the course of the round and the fight. It was a nice shot. After the shot, I bounced back up to engage instantly, but again, he dipped under to disengage. That is the sport, and it is a smart move that led to a dominant round, so no issue. Well played. If I stay switched on and give his stand-up even a little bit more respect, that right hand never gets close, and we're talking completely different now. I gave his upright fighting no respect and preparation, no specific stand-up spars whatsoever, attacking grapplers, wrestlers only. That won't happen again. I also gave my attacking grappling no respect, too defense-minded. Lessons. I listened to nobody but yourself on your skill set. You are the master of your own universe. I am the master of this. I must take my own advice. Round 3, after the worst round of my fighting career, I come back and win this round. Again, walking forward, walking him down and willing to engage. Round 4, my recovery was not where it could have been here. This is my fault. That is my fault. Although winning the early exchanges in round 4, he dips under again and I end up in a bad position with over 3 on the clock. 3 minutes on the clock. I work to regain position and end up upright with my back to the fence, a stable position. Here, however, I made a critical error of abandoning my overhook at this crucial time, exposing the back, and I end up beaten fair and square. What can I say? It was a great fight, and it was my pleasure. I will be back with my confidence high, fully prepared. If it is not the rematch right away, no problem. I will face the next in line. It's all me always anyway. See you soon, my fighting fans. I love you all. So there's a lot to take from that statement there from Conor McGregor. A lot to take there. And I want to start off by saying I do applaud him for somewhat laying out the fight for us from round 1 to the moment it ended in round 4. He laid it out for us by saying that, look, this was not my best performance by any stretch of the imagination, but there was a little bit of a carrot that was dangled in front of us. While Conor was admitting that it wasn't his best performance in his fighting career, he also was willing to throw out the fact that it wasn't Khabib's best performance in his fighting career either, despite the fact that Khabib was able to win the fight in the 4th round via tap out. There were moments in the fight, particularly round 1, where Khabib had 4 minutes and 21 seconds of top position control on Conor McGregor. Now, if I am Herb Dean, if I'm a referee, and I know that this is a massive fight, on one hand, you do have to let the fighters fight. You do have to let the fight goes where it needs to. You have to let the fight flow. You do have to let the fight flow. But if, in fact, the opponent is on top of the other fighter for more than 2 minutes, not really inflicting any damage and just maintaining top position to win out the round, I do believe after 2 minutes you do have to stand it up. 2 minutes is my cutoff to stand it up. But I don't blame Herb Dean for not doing so, because he was just letting the fighters fight. And it was a hell of a position that Khabib had Conor in against the fence. Conor could not get back up to his feet. There is a little bit of that dangling the carrot out in front of us, as if, I don't want to say excuses are being made by Conor, but I do want to say that he has completely dismissed Khabib's performance against him. And for that, I don't think that is necessary at all. I think there needs to be more looking in the mirror of Conor McGregor's strategy. And that is something that he even alluded to there. Too defensive-minded. And this was a topic that John Kavanaugh talked about extensively with Ariel Helwani. So you notice a lot of regret coming out of the Conor McGregor camp. You notice a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda, crying over spilled milk. And I hate to say this, but I will say it. This was in regards to the topic that was last alluded to in the Instagram post. Conor McGregor does not deserve this rematch. He does not. If it's the rematch, so be it. If it's not, I'll face the next in line. I don't see him fighting for the title automatically, immediately. I see Tony Ferguson and Khabib finally getting in there, and we'll find out who the better fighter is out of those two guys on that night. Until then, I see Conor possibly fighting Nate Diaz, possibly fighting a guy like Kevin Lee, maybe not, but we'll see there. Maybe even a Dustin Poirier again. But I think Nate is the most obvious opponent, but Nate hasn't fought anyone but Conor in 2 years. Nate Diaz has the same layoff that Conor has, if not a little bit longer than what Conor had. So if I'm Conor, I would feel like Nate Diaz was somewhat ripe for the picking. Not that Nate Diaz is a slouch, but Conor's coming off a fight camp, a fight performance. Nate Diaz was in the middle of a fight camp, but was forced to have his fight scrapped due to the fact that Dustin Poirier got hurt. But if I'm Conor, I go with a tough fight that I know with a big win, it puts me right back in competition for the title. I feel like Conor does have the blueprint laid out to beat Nate Diaz, so it's a much easier stylistic matchup for Conor due to the fact that Nate Diaz and him have already fought twice, and the fans truly enjoyed those two fights, and they were the two of the highest grossing fights in UFC history. One thing we do know is that no matter who Conor is fighting, people will tune in. I feel like the ship was set to sail featuring Conor and GSP. Had Conor made it out of that Khabib fight, I feel like Conor versus GSP was very likely. I feel like Dana would have wanted to put that together just to see if his nephew could beat a champion that he had had problems with in years past. But who knows? Maybe not. Maybe they don't want GSP to fight for a title ever again due to the fact that he vacated 2 titles. But I offer that to you just because I do think that is a fight that we could see down the road as a super fight, maybe at a catchweight. If Conor wants to fight who is next in line, who the hell is that? That's the question. Who the hell is that? Is it Nate Diaz? Is it Dustin Poirier again? Is it Gaethje? Is it Kevin Lee? I mean, one of those guys? Is it Ally Quinta? I mean, really, I'm a little bit miffed as to who would actually be next. Outside of Nate, I don't really see anyone that would really, get Conor hyped up. But we'll see. I feel like Khabib deserves the victory tour. I feel like Conor deserves to be doing what he's doing, promoting his whiskey, promoting his company, promoting his business ventures, whatever. You need to make as much money as humanly possible in this sport. Conor's doing that. Was I agitated by his statements? Not at all. I thought it was appropriate. I thought the timing was right. I thought the avenue he went about it was fair, and most of the statements within that were fair, but you do start to see some angling in terms of Conor throwing out how Khabib's performance wasn't really that impressive. Well, it was impressive enough to beat him. And Conor has to go back to the drawing board. That's a safe assessment. If Conor fights Khabib within the next 6 months, he will lose again. That's just fact. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. My thoughts on Conor McGregor and his newest statement, his latest statement, his first statement in regards to his UFC loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Guys, October 27th, live from 1 to 2 at the Walden Galleria. I, Ryan Thomas of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, will be joining Trainwreck Sports for the first annual 2018 Buffalo Podathon. Very excited for this event, very honored to be invited for this event, and all proceeds from this event go to BB&G Charities. Come out, support a great cause. Come catch me live from 1 to 2 with Trainwreck Sports as we talk Buffalo Bills football. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please feel free to tune in to the next edition of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast coming right up as I give my take on Amari Cooper going from Oakland to Dallas.